Hi, and welcome to the Sam Dever Podcast, episode 44. In this episode, I speak with actor, artist, songwriter, and podcast host Grayson Low. Grayson is someone who I met at Playhouse West several years ago out here in Los Angeles, and he's one of the most incredible talents I've ever seen. He's an incredible actor, but even more so, he's an amazing human being, very kind, passionate, intelligent, funny individual, and I was very grateful that he came on the podcast because him and I had a great conversation, and we simply hadn't caught up in a very long time. So thank you, Grayson, for coming on. And also, the book of the episode is a book actually Grayson gave me when I was going through my leg injury. So thank you, Grayson, again. It is Waking Up by Sam Harris. This is a really good book. Sam Harris, you might have seen him. He's written other books or seen him on podcasts. He's really big into meditation, but I feel this is a great book for people wanting to get into more spiritual realms without going full-blown to the deep end of the spiritual realms. It's a very good beginner's guide, in my opinion, of really getting yourself conscious and in tune with different practices such as meditation that Sam talks about in here. So again, it's Sam Harris, Waking Up. Oh, here it is. A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion. So that described it better than what I was trying to describe it. So Sam Harris, Waking Up, A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Grayson.
Grayson Low, welcome to the Sam Dever Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I just had a vision. A flashback of when I first saw you at Playhouse West. You were announcing the Playhouse West Film Festival of that year. And then I remember I went to it, and you were like in 10 movies in it. And were amazing. And I'm just like, who the hell is this guy? And then eventually got to know you, eventually got to have class with you. And man, it's been so long, and it is a pleasure to see you here. And I'm just curious, how are you doing?
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. I'm well. It's been as you know, it's been a weird couple of years, but for the most part, I'm really good, man. I'm healthy and still very much in love. And got engaged last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we got a dog. We got a pandemic dog, and we love our pandemic dog so much. She's wonderful. And yeah, man, I've just been working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing music a lot. That was kind of a passion of mine before I moved to Los Angeles, and I picked it back up when everything shut down, because I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't act anymore, which it had become so much a part of my identity, was acting. And if I couldn't do it when everything was shut down. So I picked up my guitar and started writing songs again, which I hadn't done in 4 or 5 years, and kind of rode that wavelength for a long time, and kind of became a bit of a recluse, not just out of necessity for the pandemic and everything, but just I kind of embraced the lifestyle a little too much, maybe. Yeah.
I know what you mean about that, because, well, not only the pandemic, but then I had my injury. And you realize, though, I think we got to see that you don't have to be working 24/7, crazy in the rat race, chasing materialism constantly to have a great life. Like, it's really simple. And actually, the simpler you make it, the better it actually is, and the more you enjoy it. So I totally get what you're saying with that.
Because you were doing that too before.
Yeah.
Everything shut down. Well, what happened first? Did you hurt your knee, or did the pandemic happen first?
Pandemic happened, and then the knee happened, happened.
But really close, right? It was like
within it. Yeah. It was
yeah.
Yeah. So just
I remember that.
in.
Because you were you were really burning the candle at both ends before all that.
Yeah, like
Living out of your car. I remember coming to class and seeing like all of your stuff in the back of your car, and you're always in the back. You were the sharpest dresser in our class by far, at the school by far, because you were coming from work.
Yeah.
And I mean, you were, and also staying healthy. I know you've always been very health conscious,
Mm-hmm.
but you were working full time and going to class, which
Yeah.
is very demanding.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like you were, because of your injury and because of the pandemic, the combination of those two things, you really had to stop and just kind of sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a great breakdown. Yeah, I remember thinking during that time you just explained, and now thinking back, well, it was such a great time. But then also, I remember thinking that this isn't sustainable. Like, I remember thinking like something's going to give.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
something's go. Well, then a bunch of shit started to give. Like, the
Yeah.
whole world started to give.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Like, it did give chance. And by the way, now that I'm talking to you, I know what book of the episode's going to be. Thank you for this.
Oh, sure. I know. I
Young
remember what you're
Harris
talking.
Waking Up that you
Yeah.
so graciously gifted me with during the injury. Thank you for that.
No. I read that when I was out of commission.
Yes.
Because as you know, you gave me a really beautiful card when one of my appendix burst, and I still have it. And so I appreciate that. And I was going through a really tough time because I was, just going and going and going, and my appendix, it started acting up while I was on stage at Playhouse West, and then I had to just stop doing everything for a few months. And that book helped me so much, not only with meditation, but
Mm-hmm.
just really breaking down uh, what identity, what that is, what we kind of the illusion of identity and all that. Really breaking down those walls, and it's a lot to sit and think about when you have nothing to do but sit and think about shit. You know what I mean?
Man, I just realized that there's like 20,000 things I want to talk to you about now. So we're definitely going to have to stop recording and send our Zoom link.
Okay.
But yeah, going to your injury real quick, man, I'll never forget that. Like, that was, I mean, if you don't mind speaking on it at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, because you and Eric and Wolf are putting up the winning streak play, which was phenomenal.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, it was like the middle of the run
It was exactly the middle of the run. Yeah, it was our first matinee, our 5th show of a 10-show run, and what ended up being the last show. Yeah.
And so what it just, I don't know how much detail you're willing to go into. So your side just started hurting, and then
Yeah, so I started feeling. I remember because the second act of that show is very intense physically, and I started to feel strange sensations in my lower right side belly area. And I thought at first, I was like, did I pull something, or God forbid, is this like a hernia or something? But the adrenaline from the show kind of, for the most part, I could ignore it. And then I remember we were cleaning up, and as everything was slowing down and my heart rate started to come back to normal, I started to feel like this weird sensation I'd never felt before, but it was almost like being really hungry or something. And I was like, I just need to eat. I just need to eat, because I didn't eat that day because I can't eat before a performance. My nerves don't allow it. So if it's like a matinee, I'm probably not going to eat breakfast. So I just thought I needed to eat. And then I went and got ramen with a friend who had come to that show, which was a huge mistake, because that just made everything so much worse. And I love ramen, but it was bad. And then I had to drive home from Burbank, and yeah, it just started to kind of escalate from there. And then I want to say 36 hours later, thereabouts, I was being rushed to the hospital because I felt like I had just been shot in
Wow.
in my side, and that was when it perforated, when the appendix actually burst
Wow.
is when that happened. So
And you had what? It was about a 2-3 month recovery from that. Wasn't it?
yeah, it was a week and a half in the hospital after surgery, and then I because I went to the hospital so late and got it taken care of so late, the infection had spread to my bloodstream, so I developed sepsis and gangrene.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Just
know that.
just some nasty stuff. So I had to be on an antibiotic drip for a couple weeks, and then an antibiotic pill for about a month after that. And antibiotics they're life saving, but they're also terrible for your body.
Mhm.
So I lost like 20 pounds, and I couldn't really eat anything, couldn't keep anything down for a long time. And what ended up helping me more than anything was probiotics.
Mm.
I got on some probiotic supplements, and I finally started to feel better. But there was like a 2-3 month period where I don't know, it's terrible. But
Well, I mean, first and foremost, thank God that, you're alive and,
yeah, man.
back, from something like that. And it's, I mean, you can share the perspective. Like it is amazingly how quick your life can change. And I know
Yes.
for me with my leg, when that happened, in an instant, my life had changed, like right then and there.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Do you feel comfortable talking about like that day and how that all went down?
Absolutely. So for me, it was November 30th, 2020. And I remember I had got done with work, and this is still when like a lot of stuff shut down.
Yeah.
It was right before the second wave of the cases, like when it got really
Hmm.
bad, hospitalizations got bad. And I remember in Ventura County, the Simi Valley gym was still open. So I would go there and work out outside. And I remember that day thinking like, do I want to go to Simi, or do I want to just go run in Studio City on the tills? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go jog tonight, Had my whole night planned on what I was going to do and
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And I'm running, getting toward the end of the trail. And I don't, it happened so fast. Like it happened so fast, and it wasn't anything crazy. I just was going downhill at a slant, which that was the first mistake. And when I stepped on one, I don't even know if I felt it, but I just saw my leg move over through my pants. And I thought I broke my femur bone. That's what I thought had happened. And immediately I just hit the ground, slid, and I'm lucky I didn't go the other way off the trail, and that I didn't break my arms either, because I fell like right on my arms, and
Oh my God.
I knew I wasn't getting up, and I had to do the classic help. Help.
Yeah, man.
and it was in Studio City, so it was a pretty populated trail. If it would have been Malibu or something, I could have been really screwed out that way. But they all gather around me, and I remember seeing the helicopter flying above. I'm like, oh, that's for me. And just to see where I was, and they got the EMTs got the truck on the trail, took me down to the ambulance, and it like when that stuff happens, like it's I didn't know what had happened, but I knew it was really bad what had happened.
Yeah.
And I go to the hospital in Burbank, and thank God this is right before the pandemic like got bad, because if it would have been like a week later, I may not have gotten into a room.
Right.
That was the big concern, because it's like, that's why they're saying like don't come to the hospital unless you're having a heart attack or something life-threatening there and there. And
Right.
so I go in there, they do everything, my legs just twisted on the table, and they tell me you've dislocated your knee. Now when you hear that, it doesn't sound bad, because you hear dislocated shoulder, you're like, oh, you just pop it back. The knee is different, because the number one thing they check for when you dislocate your knee is, did you hit the artery? Because if you hit that bone, slice that artery, it's no good.
Yeah.
You're either talking losing a limb or you're gonna die. And
Yeah.
thank God it wasn't that. But I remember they come in, the ER doc, God bless all of them, God bless everyone that helped me that day, said, hey, I forget what they gave me. It wasn't anesthesia. It was something else where I was going to be conscious. They go, we're going to give you this and we're going to pop this back into place. I remember they gave it to me and I could just hear,
Oh, God.
and they pop it back in and they go, we are going to keep you overnight because we did see some slight bleeding. So we just want to be cautious. Like, okay. The person from the orthopedic place I ended up going to had seen my charts and everything and goes, okay, you tore your ACL, you partially tore your PCL, you fractured your bones. And then you also had, and this is what was news to me, you have peroneal nerve palsy. I'm like, what? He's like, foot drop. I'm like, huh? He's like, you damaged your peroneal nerve, which I didn't know is what lets your foot move up and down. And then I noticed I can't move my foot. Like I can't move it toward me. So, and then,
and this all happened with this one step.
Just one misstep. I have wiped out so many different ways, so many different times where I should have broken probably tons of stuff, got up, dusted, nothing. This was just like just slipped the wrong way. And that's kind of, there's sometimes I wonder if that was just God just like, hey, you're going to sit down for a while.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
No, I can relate. Absolutely. I think that, with the appendix thing, it was definitely, or at least what I took from it was, you really need to stop and think about where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Is this really fulfilling you? Are you gonna blink and then one day be 50 and realize that you missed all these beautiful simple moments, what you were talking about, those simple things.
Oh, you gave me goosebumps just talking about that.
Well, yeah, just because I was just on autopilot, man. I was working 40 hours a week at a hotel, and I was living at Playhouse West. I was doing 2 classes a week there, sometimes 3. I was always in a play.
You were always phenomenal in a play.
Oh, thanks, man. But as soon as I started doing plays with Wolf, I didn't stop until my appendix blew up. You know what I mean? So it was, I was always there, and I was only at home to sleep. And, once I had to stop and slow down, fortunately I have a great group of friends who were there when that happened. And it was like I was seeing them for the first time in years, Even my girlfriend Larissa, it was like the first time we were actually spending time together in years. And it was like, what was I running from? Why was I don't know. I think I had the mindset when I moved out here that I was like, I'm just going to work my ass off and get as good at this acting thing as I possibly can. And the best way to do that is to just do it. But the problem with that is if you're spending all your time acting and you're not living your life, not only are you losing all that precious time, but you're also, I think after a while, you're not going to be a very interesting actor because all you're doing is acting. You know what I mean?
Well, you remind me of shout out to the great Mr. Carnegie, who we both had.
Yes, sir.
Thursday night class.
Yeah.
This is what, because I totally relate to everything you're saying, because I feel like, and it's a gift and a curse in some ways. I feel like I've used a lot of art or just staying busy, quote unquote, as escapism from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, this is a whole other conversation, but like I'm dealing with things with myself now that like I'm really just sitting with myself without doing 20,000 different things. It's like, oh, wow, this has been here the whole time, but I've just chosen not to deal with this.
Right.
But Mr. Carnegie had said the best actors he knew lived the most interesting lives. They read the most interesting books. They went to concerts. They went to restaurants. Like they just lived an enriching life outside of acting.
Yes.
And I hadn't been doing that. And that's one thing my injury, the pandemic somewhat, but the injury like was the thing for me. You know, shout out to our mutual comrade, Eric Charles Jorgensen, who will be on this podcast eventually, who took me in when my injury first happened. That, like you're talking about the pain I mean, that first month, it was the most gruesome pain I had ever experienced ever. But this is what's crazy about it though. If I try to find the gift in it all, and I'm sure you can relate, when you're in that much pain, when your body is that, you almost become detached from it in some regards.
Yeah, you disassociate.
Yeah. So my mind was like, my mind was able to like go out of everything and start looking at things differently and realize like, man, like I really haven't been that present. Ironically, going to a Meisner school.
Right.
It's like, I haven't been that aware. I haven't enjoyed like some things I've always I should have enjoyed. I've missed a lot of moments. And kind of what you were saying, like that. I look back, I'm like, God, I missed some moments there, like with some people and experiences and friends and you name it. So in a way, that was really one of the biggest gifts of it all. My attitude moving forward now is another thing is things aren't that serious. Like I don't, like people are stressing and going crazy over certain things. And I'm just like, it's not that bad. Like whatever you think is like the end of the world is not the end of the world. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
So, yeah. I think for me, yeah, I just to be truthful, it's a miracle I've had very successful cutting edge surgery. Now I'm not even walking with a foot brace anymore, which is a miracle.
That's great, man.
But I'm still rehabbing. This leg ain't the same.
Sure.
And I say that with gratitude, but it's like, it's kind of like a daily reminder of like, hey, like you're still here and you get to participate still, but guess what? This is going to come to an end. I feel like for me, God or the entities, they gave me a halftime of life, assuming I'm going to live to be in the 70s, hopefully.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like, hey, this is your halftime. We're letting you know that this is all going to end. So how do you want to spend the rest of it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on a good day, I've heeded that sort of that warning from the universe, but I forget all the time. You know what I mean?
It's easy to.
It's so easy to just forget. Because I remember being in the hospital, and Larissa was there, and the funny thing is, when I was in the hospital, we were broken up, but she was there by my side the whole time. Which is
wow.
Which is part of the reason I think that we came back together. But I remember telling her with so much conviction, like, if I get out of this hospital bed, my life is going to change. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to enjoy every single moment. I'm not going to take anything for granted. All this, all these grand statements like that. But, after a while, unfortunately, that it passes, and you kind of get complacent again, or at least I do. And it's like I gotta constantly remind myself, like, hey, remember when you were on your back in a hospital bed in the worst pain you've ever been in, and you thought, hey, at least you get to leave this hospital. Some people don't get to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I gotta constantly remind myself.
I'm glad you said that, because it's so true. Because I've caught myself multiple times, and you've read the book Awareness by Anthony DeMello, and I have to constantly read and reread it, because it's I don't know, maybe it's just the way we're made up, but being present and aware, it takes a lot of practice, because all it takes is you like kind of letting go of it for a little bit to just get roped in to whatever you're getting roped into. And I have caught myself more than once being like, hey, chill, like, remember where the state you were at and the perspective you had, that all this stuff that you stress and worry about is nothing to stress and worry about. And
Amen. Amen.
It's really hard to hold on, but I find it comes in waves. Like there's sometimes like I feel like I really got it, and then there's times where I slip and I fall, and I fall hard.
Yeah.
But I think the key, Eckhart Tolle talks about this too, like about being present. Part of being present is recognizing when you're not present, like just having that awareness, like
Right.
like
Calling
being
attention
like, oh,
to it.
I'm really not here right now. That in itself is a step forward.
Yeah, because in that moment you're being present by
Right.
noting that. It's like in meditation that's called noting, right? Where you're just like, what am I doing? Oh, I'm washing the dishes. Oh, I'm looking at my phone. I'm whatever it is. I'm walking to the kitchen. Just the practice of noting those moments is at least for a second you're being present, you know. That's funny that you mentioned Eckhart Tolle though, because I've recently started reading A New Earth because it's crazy. I've known about The Power of Now and A New Earth for a long time, and I just never picked him up. And then Kendrick Lamar's new album came out a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And Eckhart Tolle is in the whole thing. I mean, his voice is in it. Yeah, it's a huge part of the themes of that album. And I thought, well, if K-Dot thinks this is good shit, then maybe I should give it a shot. And man, it's blowing my mind. The guy is.
You read Power of Now too?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah, yeah. He's incredibly articulate and insightful, and you know, much like Sam Harris. You know, it's just like the things that you just these little nuggets of wisdom, and kind of like your jaw drops to the floor. You know.
Yeah, one of the things he talks about in Power of Now, he talks about, I think it was like for 2 years he did nothing. Like he did nothing but like go to the park and look at ducks. And of course it didn't equate to a big bank account, but he said he was able to finally get to that point of just like what being present actually was. Yeah, and it sounds really simple. People, what do you mean you just sat? And I was like, no, it's like really finding, because like, and Anthony DeMello talks about too, like this bliss is around us at all given. This life is beautiful. It really is. Like it is. And that's why I really appreciate you sharing, you know, about, you know, your fiance and your dog. And I like seeing on Instagram when you're posting the family photos and stuff like that. And like, man, you're like, that's what life is about. And I personally too, shout out to my significant other, Laura. If it wasn't for the injury, I don't know. And we had talked about this. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to have the mind frame to be able to really recognize and accept a really good relationship. You know, being in that mode we were talking about. Sorry, Zoom's telling me we have 10 minutes, but we're going to beat the system.
We are.
We're going to stop, and I'm going to send you another link because we got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's like there's moments like when I'm with her. And we're just doing simple shit, like simple stuff. And I do like, I try to play this game of like, not game, but like, remember that bed that you were in for almost a year? And now look, you're in this moment now here, and just really trying to enjoy that and embrace that and really realize that life and what society teaches you that it's important, and social media painting like be cool and live this life and live through your phone, and there's like, no man, like it's like these beautiful moments are there all around us every single day, and they're the simplest of things, and no one ever has to know about it.
Yeah.
No one doesn't and shouldn't even know about it, because there's times too, like I post a lot less now than I used to, because I felt like I was living my life through social media just to show people what I was doing all the time. And not really being present in the actual moment. Like Eckhart Tolle talks about too, like everyone whipping their phone out to get a picture of the sunset, but they're not actually looking at the sunset.
Yeah.
And worrying. So that was a bunch of random thoughts right there. But
no, I mean, I that's like when I go to concerts and I see people, you know, on their phone, you know, getting a video of the performance. And I don't know about you, but if have you ever done that? Have you ever like taken a video of a performance at a concert? I mean, I have.
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
But it's like every time I have, I miss the song. Really, you know, I miss the actual performance, the energy of that performance, because I'm so focused on, I'm looking at my screen, and I'm not taking it in, you know. And I see that a lot, and it's like, it's a weird thing to go to something, pay money to go to an event and then not really fully experience that thing. But that's kind of the era we live in, It's because it's all about, okay, I need to go to this thing, and then I need to show everybody that I was there.
Yeah.
I need to do that. I don't know why, but I need to do that.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's in a way, like when you go out, I know you and I have talked about social media breaks before, and because you've done it and I've done it, and it's beautiful. And there is that part of you that you are like, everyone's playing over here, like everyone's playing. You do feel kind of disconnected somewhat, but I think that's, I'm trying to find a balance with it. I think there is, because like we're doing like what we're doing right here, right now. This is going to go on social media,
Right?
and we get to share thoughts and ideas. But yeah, I definitely want to just get back to the living.
I've tried to limit it to. When I came back to it a couple of months ago, I told myself that it was only going to be. I was only going to use it to promote my acting.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't fully succeeded at that. Like, I have fallen into some traps where I start scrolling,
That's where it gets you.
and but I think it's better. It's certainly better than it used to be. I think before I took the break, it was really unhealthy,
Yeah.
Just spending way too much time on it. It's about, like you said, it's about a balance.
Well, and the thing for me too is, and it's no offense to anybody that I'm friends with, or it's like, I don't need to know everything about everyone's life.
Right.
And that's what I realized too, is like, man, like your diet physically, like food you eat, is extremely important, but your mental diet is just as important. What you read, what you look at, what you ingest into your mind, that's filling your mind and your perspective on things. So be wary and be conscious of what you're filling that with. And social media, there's some great stuff on there, but there's a lot of not great stuff on there, not factual stuff on there that you're filling your mind with, and you don't know what's reality and what's not. So that's one thing too. I'm like you, like I've gone on and off of it, but I feel this time I have way more control, like more control. I'm able to say, like, if I do start to do it, like, nope, we're out.
Yep. I know these roads.
Yeah, I know them all too well. But I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, it's good to. I've sort of, like I said, I kind of became a recluse these last 2 years, man.
Yeah.
At first, just because everybody was,
yeah.
But then when things started to come back, and I kind of stayed away for a while, and I think I this is one thing I'm trying to rectify this with people, because there are a lot of really, really good friends I made at Playhouse West and in that community that I've sort of, I mean, yourself included, I haven't really seen you or talked to you much.
Yeah.
Since 2019, and I don't know what it was. I just needed to unplug for a while, but then I got a little too comfortable being unplugged, and so I'm trying to like re-enter the world, one step at a time. But I'm glad to be back as well.
Yeah, when it's good to unplug. And even now, like there's moments where you just short-term unplugs. Like and I don't know about you, but now that things quote unquote are open again and things like that, and gatherings and things like that happen, that's cool. But like, I realize with myself, I'm perfectly fine staying home most of the time. Like, it's like I don't have to go out in those environments. Like, once in a while is fine, but I just, I don't know. It's kind of like what they talk about too. Like once you get comfortable just being with yourself, it really does just make you realize like I don't need to be in big groups all the time. I don't need to be social 24/7. I really, my own solitude can bring me so much peace, joy, and happiness.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
Both.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert when I need to be.
Yeah.
Can do it in social situations, but as of late, I'm finding myself going more toward the introvert route. Just I don't know. It's like because I feel like there's nothing to prove anymore. Like there's nothing. I'm not trying to. I've thrown away the whole concept of quote unquote trying to become somebody, especially like in LA. I don't give a fuck anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
I just like the sunny weather at this point. And lots of cool people like you. I'm like, that's it. I'm not trying to climb any ladders. I'm not trying to exchange business cards anymore. It's like,
Right.
I'm over all that, man. I just want to enjoy life. Just I think really to encapsulate just being satisfied with your life, really. I think and not, I don't know, it's like I feel like so much of the world and society is telling that you, especially in a capitalistic society of materialism, it's like you need to do this to become this. You need to become that. Right. Here, look at these people who are quote unquote successful. Like, look at this. You need to grind, no sleep, and work. And it's just like, to me, it's someone, if you haven't listened to him, Naval Ravikant. I've talked to him about him a lot on this podcast, but he changed, kind of like an Anthony DeMello. Like he changed the way I look at things, and he just said, like, look, like life is a one-player game. Everyone's playing it for other people and people's approval and people's opinions and this, that, and the other. But it's like, you're the only one that exists in this thing. Right. You're the only one that matters. And these people that chase this success and money, and they talk about legacy. I'm not saying that doesn't have some good things to it, but you're going to be dead. You're not going to be here. So,
none of it's going to matter.
None of it's going to matter. And he said too, like even the most famous people are forgotten about within a couple generations, unless you're Jesus Christ or Julius Caesar,
right?
People of that nature that have been known for millennia. It's like no one's going to know and no one's going to care. So make the most of this thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never understood legacy chasing just as a concept. And maybe it's because I've been implicitly aware of what this Naval, what'd you say his name was?
Naval Ravikant.
Yeah, I think I've always sort of, whether I was conscious of it or not, I kind of understood that this is a subjective experience that you have and then you don't have, and then it doesn't matter when it's, you know what I mean? And like, like when people talk about what they want to leave behind or how they want to be remembered and all that, it's a nice thought or notion, but that's never really concerned me. It's always been like, oh my God, I'm going to die one day. And I'm really scared of not existing. You know what I mean? That's always been like the big thing for me. And then people will try to tell you like, yeah, but if you live a good life, then you won't be scared when it happens. Or if you build a legacy that, something that you can leave behind that you're proud of or that you'll be remembered for, then you'll feel better about it. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's how, I don't think they're related. I don't think those two things.
Keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd rather try to enjoy this experience as much as possible. And this is super cheesy, but it's true, man. It's like a life without love, unconditional, unwavering love. I think that's, that's what that's what I'm going to strive for as much as I possibly can. I don't know much, but I do know that love is a real thing, and that if you can find it, the real thing, the good stuff, it makes all of this worth it. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about romantic love. I'm talking about, the love I feel for you. the love I feel for, Wolfgang, my mentor, or like the love I feel for my parents, or whatever it is. I mean, just, I that's really what matters to me at the end of the day. Uh, I came out here 7 years ago with a lot, 7 or 8 friends. We all met in college, and we all had these great aspirations of being actors and writers and directors and cinematographers, um, and we've had success in varying degrees, but at this point, I think I've sort of let go of this need to make it out here, to be to even be. I used to tell myself all I want to be is a working actor. That's all I want to be. I don't need to be a famous actor. I don't need to be a celebrity. I mean, I don't even want that, right? I just want to be able to do what I love, and get paid for it. And now, as I've lived out here for a long time, and well, not even that long, but a relatively long time, and I've seen what I've seen, and I've done what I've done. Even that is a very difficult thing to achieve. Even just being a working actor. And so I think now I've made peace with, maybe I'm not even going to be a working actor, but you know what? I'll be an actor for the rest of my life. It's in me. You know what I mean? It's a part of my identity for sure. It's in my bones. I love it. And it fulfills me. It brings me a lot of joy and contentment to do it. So I'll keep doing it, and if I make a buck here and there, then cool. Sorry, that kind of I went off on a little bit.
I already got the promo clip out of what you said. I already edited it in my mind of like, that's the promo clip.
Oh, good.
Well, no, man, it's well, first of all, I'm glad you brought up. Yeah. So you are you from Denver? Is that where you're from in Colorado?
Mostly. So I grew up in a little town in southern Colorado called West Cliff.
Okay.
It's like a little town of like 600 people. And then I moved to Denver when I was 19. And I lived in Denver until I was 26, and then moved out here, 27. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you moved with, you said 7 or 8 people. And I just, the work I've seen from all of you is, dude, it's so good. Like, I got to shout out the movie, man. Gunther.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
That was so good, man. And like you talk, you remind me of, I always talk about, like, shout out to Chris Leby, the great Chris Leby. When I think of, I'm going to praise you, so I'm just preparing you.
Oh God.
When I think, like Chris would always tell us in class, like, talent is only part of this game out here. It's only, like, he said, like 17%. There's so many other things.
Right. I remember that speech. Yeah.
Yeah. That go into it. And witnessing people such as yourself at the level that you're at, and the work that you've done, and that you've come, you have had huge success in LA. You've put up multiple live shows. You've made tons of movies. It's like, you've done it. But it was just eye-opening for me to realize, like, wow, like someone such as yourself at this high a level, it's still just ridiculously difficult to make a career in this out here. And there's so many, and I don't say that negatively. I don't say, it's just the reality of what it is. So I think you having that mind frame, like, look, if it happens, it happens. If not, it's not. You love to do it at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And it's in you.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to live a more peaceful and probably make better art because of that, instead of having that pressure on your mind, like, oh, I got to make it happen. I got to make it happen. And maybe changing yourself in the process just to fit into some Hollywood mold that maybe you don't really even want to do.
Yeah.
So I encourage, you're one of the greatest talents. I'll just say it, you're one of the greatest talents I've ever seen. And I just think keep doing whatever you want to do, man. But keep
Sam.
doing it.
Sam.
Keep doing it, but do it your way.
You're too kind, Sam. Thank you. That's, you've always been one of the greatest. You probably are the greatest compliment giver I've ever met. It's you,
I'll take that.
It's so sincere, man. It's so sincere. You're just so sincere, and that is, in a place where talk is pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice to talk to somebody that when they say something kind, they're saying it genuinely, so I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, I think that I have sort of made peace with that, and I'm very lucky because the way I came into this whole thing was through the Colorado Film School,
mm-hmm.
where I met Larissa, where I met John, who directed Gunther, where I met Nathan and Pierre and Bianca and Bessie and Ginny and all these, Dills.
So you all met at that school?
We all met at that
wow,
school in 2011. Yeah. And so when I came out here, I already had all these collaborators, and I appreciate, you saying that, but I do have to give a lot of credit to them because I would not have been cast in these roles if I hadn't, had an in with them. I didn't, it wasn't like I auditioned for these things. Right. Most of the time it was like my friend John wrote a script about a 1920s dandy man stuck in a contemporary setting living with two female roommates, and he brought it he brought it to my house, and we did a table read, and I expressed interest is really what it came down to. And then I think my enthusiasm infected him, and he started to get excited about it, and so we started to develop that together. But once again, there are so many actors out here who don't have that, and I do recognize how lucky I am, how fortunate I am to have a community of such talented artists that I get to be a part of that. And not only them, but you're a part of this community as well. But like the Playhouse West community is such a
incredible.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Like the most talented people I've ever met went to that school, yourself included. You know what I mean? Like it's like so many. I mean, we have so many mutual friends who you've had on this podcast. I just admire them so much. And I've gotten to work with them, and I've gotten to act with them. I've gotten to act with you on stage. You know what I mean? We've never done a play together, but we've done a scene together, and we've done exercises together. And I don't know, man. Not a lot of people get to do that out here, and so it's I don't know, man. It's hard to be anxious or upset or sad about things when you're grateful. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to do those two things don't really exist at the same time.
Well, that was all beautifully said. And the thing it reminds me of, and I've said this before, I think for me with LA, like I think what draws me to it the most now, aside from the weather, would be the people, like such as yourself. And it's like, even if I'm not pursuing anything or trying to do anything in the business or anything like that, I just like the comfort of, I know that there's people with the similar mind frame around me that see the world similar to what I do. Because not to say other cities and stuff don't have those pockets of that, because I'm sure they do, but I feel out here, all of us, like this was Mecca. Like we all pilgrimage out to here because this is where you go
right
to pursue the movies and things like that. And it's like, shout out to, I think I've talked to Ford about this quite a bit. Just like,
God bless him.
God bless Ford Fanter. Someone told me I should interview him in a tree. Shout out to Brian Larson. I did not disagree with that. Like that's actually a really good idea.
I think that's. I mean, you the first time you interviewed him at Griffith Park, right?
Yeah, good memory.
And
yeah.
then the second one you interviewed him on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So now you got to do the tree, man. I think take it to the next level.
But safety precautions will be taken.
Sure.
But
even though he's getting really good at climbing trees.
Man, is he ever. Like I'm just he takes his own rope and everything and just climbs and climbs. But I like, for example, like what I love about LA, doesn't matter what your occupation is out here, everyone's an actor. Like even with what I do in pharmaceuticals and stuff and like going into doctor's offices, it's not abnormal. Like if I say like, oh yeah, I'm doing acting stuff, they won't even think twice. They won't even, because that's what everyone's an actor on the side out here. So it's like part of me just like finds comfort in that. Like, yeah, like you can, LA is one place you can be whatever you want to be. You can go for whatever you want to go for. So
yeah, you're not going to feel judged for being an artist out here. In most places, you know. I mean, you might feel judged, but I don't think people really give a shit. You know, that you could tell them that you're, you know, a mime or something, and they'll probably be like, "Oh, cool, that's legit, dude, miming." You know?
That's legit, bro. The best is meeting the people out here that are from out here and grew up out here, because all of them went to acting school when they were younger. A lot of them, they're just over it. Like, oh, you're an actor. Yeah, I did that when I was.
Yeah.
My parents put me through blah 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 acting school. I did a couple commercials, and yeah, no, it just wasn't for me.
Yep.
So what's on the horizon here? What do you got? You got anything cooking now? Just kind of where things go, or
like I said, I've been working on music for a couple of years now, and there's an album that I've been putting together. I started writing songs that ended up on it way back in like May of 2020, you know, when I was stuck in my house. And it's kind of it mutated and evolved into this bigger thing. And it's almost finished. I keep saying that, and then it just seems like it's never going to be finished, but it really is very close to being finished. And I'm hoping to release that into the world. Not for any reason. I don't have any delusions about what will happen with it. I've always wanted to make an album, like a full album of music, you know. And then while I was writing this thing, and it's about 8 songs out of maybe 30 or 40 that didn't make it onto it. But while I was writing it, a really good friend of mine who I grew up with passed away unexpectedly. And I think I don't know, it hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting it to, I guess, because I hadn't spoken to this person in a long time, but because I had sort of rekindled my relationship with my guitar and with my with writing songs again, I was reminded with her passing about how instrumental she was to my development as an artist and as a singer-songwriter, because the first time I ever used my voice to sing, to croon, whatever you want to call it, was in her bedroom when I was 14 years old. And I was very, you know, self-conscious about it because I didn't know how to sing. I'd never learned how to sing. I didn't have any kind of training or anything. But she was so supportive and so nurturing. And that was just who she was, you know. But I don't know. I feel like I owe her a debt or something. I feel like I want to honor her with this album because music has been such a joy for me, and she whether she knew it or not, she was absolutely instrumental in my development and my confidence. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have pushed myself to get here as a singer or songwriter if it hadn't been for her. So that is kind of the biggest thing on my to-do list right now creatively. It's kind of been a thorn in my side because we recorded the bulk of it about a year ago. And it's been a very long post-production process. So anyway, that was a very long story, but that is kind of the big thing for me. As soon as I finish that, I feel like I'll be able to kind of move on with my life. You know what I mean? I feel sort of, there's a huge part of me creatively that's stuck, until that's finished.
I relate to that in my own ways with some creative stuff, and I can't wait to hear it, man. Because from what I've heard from you, it's dope. Like, I remember the first Instagram clip I think you did was like some sunglasses and guitar. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm like, whoa, what? Like, like Grayson can jam, man. Like it's and I love what you said. Like, well, and rest in peace to your friend as well.
Thanks, man.
We have teachers, right, that come into our lives at different times, and that's more than one thing I'm starting to recognize more and more, like, and really like try to be aware of more. Like, just certain people come into our lives at certain times, but they mold us, they inspire us, they almost like nudge us to where we're supposed to go next. Or maybe you met them a long time ago, and then something that they taught you becomes relevant years later. I'm like, oh my God, that's why I met. Oh, wow. I know what to do. So that's really cool that you're doing that and putting that together. Yeah,
man. It's, I don't know what happened. Just a fire was lit in my belly. And I've just kind of, it's been like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. And I poured a lot of my own money into it. And it's kind of funny. I drove to Colorado to record it so that I could be with my friends that I grew up with playing music with. And I was driving across the Arizona desert in Navajo country, and my car broke down on the way there, and I had to get it towed like 60 miles, and I had to leave it behind. I left my car in this junkyard in the middle of nowhere in northeastern Arizona. Just so I could get to this cabin in southern Colorado to record this album. So it was like, I don't know, it was just kind of an adventure just to get it done. But it makes a good story,
Yeah, man. Well, I can't wait to bump it. Can you reveal the name of it yet, or is it still under?
Yeah, no, it's so the name of the record is Personal Apocalypse, and the name of the project, or like it's not a band really, it's just it's a recording project, but I called it the Lonesome Dial Tones. And it's kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with like Gorillaz or
oh yeah
like where that's like Gorillaz is Damon Albarn. It's like one guy, but there's those 4 cartoons that they're like this fake band. So that's kind of the idea, is like the Lonesome Dial Tones. It's not a band, but it's the name of this project. And then Personal Apocalypse is the name of the album, and there's a song on the album that has that same title. And that song was sort of inspired by, when things were really, really tumultuous in like summer 2020. It just, everything was kind of just felt like it was falling apart, society, or whatever.
That was a crazy time, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Like, we almost forget that it's like, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's like, yeah, I remember sitting in my apartment in Van Nuys at the time being like, do I need to leave? Like, do I need to leave town? Have I stayed too long? Like, it's, and I think someone made a point on the last podcast I thought it was a good point. They say, like, from the outside, people are like, oh, you know, the pandemic's over and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but not really. Like, a lot of that anxiety, a lot of that trauma, a lot of that stress is still with a lot of us, most of us probably, whether we're conscious of it or not.
Yeah.
It's just like there. It's like ingrained in us now, like this tension and this stress. And
we're different. I think as a whole, like, we're different. It's just no way around that. Residual effects, definitely from because I don't know, man. I think I compare it to maybe how the Second World War affected people at that time. You know what I mean? Just the entire world was just shaken by this event. You know, this shared experience. You know, everybody had their own personal experience with it, but everybody, you say COVID, you say coronavirus, whatever it is, however you want to put it, everybody knows what you're talking about. You know what I mean? There's not a person, you know, in the developed world that doesn't know what that is. So when it's that common, I think it like I said, it's a very personal case by case thing, but it's something that we certainly all we share that experience, you know, and it's changed us fundamentally as a society. I think it's kind of wild.
Well, and what's it been? It's been almost 2.5 years at this point. I mean, not
right,
getting there, and it's like I feel like I talked to this guy at the bank the other day, the bank teller, and I'm just because I was getting my rent cashier's check, and it's like I always put the month and the year or whatever, and it's just like, okay, it's July, it's going to be July 2020. I'm like, God, July 2022. It's like he's like, we were kind of like, yeah, like after 2019, like everything's just kind of like a smear, like a blur, like there's no like timeline, like it's just like there was 2019 and then the beginning of 2020, and then there's just like a light switch, everything changed, and we're still in it, like we're still here. Like it's just, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's
we definitely lost some years, you know. It doesn't feel like I feel like the last time we were hanging out, you know, when we were going to class together, 2019, that feels like last year to me, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
It just feels like last year. It doesn't
like
feel
last
like
year.
It doesn't feel like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? But it is. It's just that's the craziest thing.
Yeah, that's funny because you know, I was talking to Eric. You know, he was walking, and I guess they were doing nursery rhymes.
Yeah,
Wolf's class, and like that was the last thing I had done or had put up in Wolf's
you were
class.
in that show, yeah.
Yeah, the nursery rhyme show, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, the nursery rhyme. But I'm like, man, I was doing it'll be almost 3 years ago, like coming up, and I'm just like, has it really been that long? Like, has it really? Because in my mind, like that stuff was all a few months ago or like a year ago, like you said. But no, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, this has been a treat, man, talking to you here tonight.
Likewise, man.
So glad. We'll have to do more of this.
Please.
We'll have to have more. Oh, you have a podcast.
I do.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Tell me about
that. It's goofy, man. It was a pandemic thing. I moved in with a good friend of mine named Warren Barrow. He was a Playhouse West guy back in the day, before our time. I met him. I saw him perform improv in like 2016. That was like that was like he was still in the improv program at Playhouse, but he wasn't in the technique program anymore. And I saw him perform improv, and he is one of the funniest people I've ever met. Just a genuinely hilarious person, you know, down to his bones. He's just one of the funniest people. And we became friends, and like you and I, we have great conversations. He and I, you know, we just have. They're a little different. They're not quite as philosophical as the ones you and I have, but
I've listened into some of it. It's entertaining.
Yeah, that's. I
Yeah.
mean, so we ended up living together in this house that I'm in now, and we had a lot of downtime, and we just decided it might be fun to make a podcast about entertainment, about media, sort of reviewing media, movies, music, television, books, whatever it is, but trying our best to stay positive, because a lot of media reviewers, critics, get pretty negative, and we didn't want to do that, so we really do our best to just focus on things that we like, and even if it's maybe something that we don't like too much, we try to find a positive spin to talk about. And so it's called Good Shit, uh, and it's been really fun, man. We have a lot of fun with it. Thanks for listening. Um, and yeah, it really has just been like therapeutic for us, honestly.
Yeah.
We haven't really uh, done a lot in terms of promotion or trying to get it out there, because we're both really bad at that, but we just enjoy throwing on our headphones and our microphones and just having a laugh, you know what I mean?
That's what it's about, man. As long as you
Yeah.
guys are having fun. That's what I think podcasting is really good for. It's really therapy in a way.
Yeah,
It's
man,
really
I'm sure
just
you get that, like, talking to so many people. I bet you learn so, I mean I've listened to your show, so I know, like, there's so much insight,
mm,
uh, there's so much wisdom
mm,
in every episode, uh,
mm.
in unexpected places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not to say that I don't expect to get these little nuggets of wisdom from these people, but it's just it'll kind of come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? That's my favorite part of the show.
Right. Well, even the
Yeah.
one that we did today, like you just had a stream of consciousness,
Yeah.
and that's how that's how, like, I feel with podcasting. That's the beauty of it. Like, because I've done a lot of like interviewing before, and it has its place, but interviewing's very like I send you the questions ahead of time, and you're gonna know what I'm gonna ask. It's like, no, let's just talk. That's what I love about podcasts. It's just literally like like Mr. Carnegie would tell us in class, just sit down and have a conversation.
That's it, man.
That's
That's
all
it.
it is.
Just listen. Just listen.
Yeah, and so I'm going to give you the last word, but before I do, where can the people find you? Where can they find the podcast? Where should they go to follow Grayson?
Uh, wow. Well, I guess I have my Instagram account, which like I said, I've tried to use just to promote my work as an actor. So I have clips on there. It's at Low Grayson, LOWGRAYSON. If you want to check that out. And then Good Shit with Grayson, or Good Shit with Warren and Grayson is the name of the podcast. You can find it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We use Buzzsprout. Do you use Buzzsprout as well?
I haven't, but I've heard of it. I probably
Yeah.
need to look into that.
No, yeah, I mean, which program do you use?
I'm using. Gosh, it's been so long since I've uploaded these. Oh my God, what's the name of it? Wow.
That's all right. I mean,
I'm gonna have to Instagram it.
it's about. It's
I use a
important.
platform and it distributes it, and same thing. Same thing as Buzzsprout. Yeah.
So that's why you can get it anywhere. Yeah, that's really that's it, man. I'm just out here trying to do my thing.
Yeah.
Just like we all are, I guess. But
yeah, man. Well, and I always give the guests the last word. It can be as deep or as shallow as you want it to be. It can be an idea, philosophy. I'm looking at the Zoom remaining time. We got a few minutes here. What do you want to leave us on?
Wow. I think the last thing I want to say, I just want to say how much I appreciate you, Sam. Like as a person, man. The first time I met you, the first time I remember meeting you was, I think I had just performed or something, and you came up to me and you introduced yourself, and of course you said very nice things to me, and at first I was, because I'm a skeptic naturally, I was very suspect of you. I was like, oh, this guy, what's he doing? What is he? I don't know if I trust him. And then I kept running into you, and then eventually we ended up, being in class together and hanging out, and I just seeing a lot more of you. And I just gotta say, man, you're one of the nicest people I've ever met, genuinely kindest people I've ever met, and that's, I think that you make the world a better place, man. You really do, and I think it's great that you have a platform where you can do your thing and people can listen to you and hear what you have to say, and that you can hear what other people have to say as well, because you're not only great at giving compliments, but you're also a good listener too. So I really appreciate you, brother. Really, I do. And I think that's the last thing I want to say. I don't know. I'm not as good at giving compliments as you are, but I'm working on it.
I'm beyond humbled, man. I love you. I appreciate you. And I know I mean every word I say about your talent, because it's incredible, but more important than your talent, you're a genuinely nice, kind-hearted person as well. And I think that to me, like that to me is my wealth at this point. It's like that. I just feel so grateful to have found the Playhouse West community and other artistic communities, as I'm sure you have too over the years. But like this one in particular, it was destiny. It was like destiny. Like, how do I come into this world? And I feel like I've known people like yourself for decades. Like, I feel like I've known you for so long. So
Absolutely.
It's really a special, unique experience. And I'm just grateful. And I'm grateful that here we are now creating something together, a conversation that we're going to share. So I really look forward to seeing you in person sooner than later.
I'd love to meet your lady.
Yes.
Your betrothed. I guess she's not your betrothed yet, but too soon.
Yes, my significant other. I would love
yes.
for you to meet her. I definitely, she's very special to me, and I want her to meet all of you. So we gotta do like I keep saying this, we gotta do like a big get together in the park or something like that, a cookout or something,
Absolutely, man.
Good vibes.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, my friend, we're running out of time, but thank you so much. Keep doing your thing, man. And
Likewise.
We'll be seeing each other soon. All right, brother?
Much love, brother.
All right. Peace.
Take care.
Bye.